Hi everyone, it is Sunday the 12th of July 2020 and just running through the major currencies starting for the US dollar basket. So it's been range bound for a while. On the daily it's now at the bottom end of the range, potentially coming up and bumping its head against 9,700. So I'm just going to have a look and see in the early start of this week if we find that price actually breaks out and starts to head lower. It is still within the range and therefore a move up to the top is equally possible. But this is really what I want to see, is if it rejects 9,700, finds too much resistance and heads down below that. In terms of the weekly, all we can really see is that it's been relatively bullish candlesticks and it started to slip a little bit lower. And on the monthly, it is still roughly within a larger range. All right, so don't anticipate much until we break below that range. Currently, it looks very much as though it wants to break to the downside, but that's the thing about ranges. Price can just go head straight back up. So what I'm really looking to see is how price reacts against 97 as a ceiling in the early parts of the week. Now looking at euro dollar by comparison looks a little bit more bullish. It actually has got a confirmed uptrend of high lows and higher highs. 1.14 still offering some potential resistance up ahead there, and largely the same inversely correlated behavior as we've just seen. Looking at sterling, as I spoke about, is largely range bound on the monthly within its range, and it has a confirmed uptrend on the weekly, which is something different. And at the moment, a very, very subtle daily uptrend. So it's going to, again, I think the US dollar basket is going to have to show its hand at this point. If it starts to strengthen, I can reasonably expect, I think we're stuck between a range here. If I just go ahead and just mark that, we're still stuck within a range here. And so if we get a weaker dollar, yes, of course, it's reasonable to expect sterling to break out. But otherwise, it's also reasonable. It is within a range here that it can actually return. Aussie dollar, US dollar. So this was my favorite last week in terms of seeing some strength there. I actually managed to head up a little bit higher and then it sort of faded towards the end of the week. Within its monthly range, it still has very effectively almost broken that monthly downtrend, but it's still struggling against that 7,000 level. So that's really what I'm going to be watching for here. A weaker dollar would push a lot of the other major currencies over the line, and then I might see some of these trends start to kick in. Look here, Kiwi dollar, that's almost has it. Yeah, that's gone ahead and actually created a fresh high. So that is actually stronger so far. Has managed to move further in the last week than Australian dollar against US dollar. Now, dollar yen. So dollar yen I generally rag on as not really being that useful as a currency to trade. And I don't really see, if I'm looking for a currency to do nothing, then this is fantastic. What I'm really looking at here in principle is just noticing that if I just go back to December 2018, generally speaking, the flow of price is to the downside. So it is slowly but surely creeping down towards that 1.04 level, or that 104 level, so to speak, and not offering much clarity here on the weekly. We've got no clear trend on the weekly, largely range bound. But otherwise, I see it slowly in the longer term drifting to the downside. Dollar Swissy is definitely drifting to the downside, so there's no doubt about that. There are some risks with trading dollar Swissy, and certainly as we come into key levels, 93 is going to be a bit of an issue, and it's now a little bit heading towards a little bit overextended on the weekly. Usually I wouldn't be concerned about that. I would think it has more juice to go, but within a larger range bound picture, it's unusual for price to get too overextended. So within this area, it wouldn't be unreasonable to see it climb. It's also sitting off a daily support level. So this is what I'd be looking for here, is to see if we break this downtrend. That would be the weekly doing a retracement. At the same time, we could do a small bit of a move to the upside and then continue on down. So there's really, the charts are not giving a lot of clear signals about what's really to happen, other than the fact that we just wait, I guess, for the US dollar to decide what it wants to do. And looking at dollar CAD, that is also clearly range bound at the moment on the daily. No clear trend. There is a longer term downtrend as well, and I've spoken about this a couple of times before, highlighting that it is testing a level of support here on the monthly. So there is the potential for it to produce a bullish candle and to break and start to head back up to that, which would support the idea actually of a stronger US dollar, weaker Canadian dollar. So again, dollar yen, dollar Swissy, and dollar CAD haven't really added any clarity to the situation, but it would appear again from Euro, GBP, Australian dollar, and Kiwi dollar that we are likely to have a weaker US dollar initially. But in summary, there is definitely no very clear picture. There is a slight leaning towards a weaker US dollar over the coming week, but otherwise it's pretty much range bound. All right, so until it breaks the lows and breaks out of its range, I don't expect to see much happening this week in terms of those majors and minors.